Harper Audio presents Schulz and Peanuts, a biography by David Michaelis, read by Holter Graham. Copyright 2007 by David Michaelis. Production and abridgment copyright 2007 by HarperCollins Publishers. Northwest. We'll probably never see each other again. Dina Halverson Schulz. The great troop train, a quarter-mile of olive green carriages, rolled out of the depot and into the storm. Nearly a foot of snow had fallen on the Northwest through the day, and now, in the short winter afternoon, the blizzard veiled the domed heights of the state capitol in St. Paul and the pyramid-capped Fauché Tower, tallest building in Minneapolis. Snow curtained the Twin Cities from one another, blurring everyday distances. Only the railroad and streetcar tracks cut clear black lines into the mounting white cover. In the Pullman, Sparky kept to himself. No one yet knew him. At roll call, he had come after Schaust and before Ciortino, but except for his place in the company roster, he seemed to have no connection to the men and, as one of his seatmates was to recall, no interest in joining in any conversation, not even about the weather. The snowflakes swirling at the Pullman windows only contributed to his impression that he had been thrown among wild people. To his fellow recruits he presented himself as nondescript, simple, bland, unassuming, just another face in the crowd. With his regular looks, he passed for ordinary so easily that most people believed him when he insisted, as he did so often in later years, that he was a nothing, a nobody, an uncomplicated man with ordinary interests, although anyone who could attract attention to himself by being so sensitive and insecure had to be complicated. Don Schaust, then seated alongside Schulz in the Pullman, later recalled that, as they rumbled across the Twin Cities, his seatmate remained silent, very quiet, very low, deep in his own misery, and how he had asked himself, "What's the matter with this guy?" He would never discuss the actual kind of cancer that had struck his mother. Throughout his life, friends, business associates, and most of his relatives believed that Dina Schulz had been the victim of colorectal cancer. In fact, the primary site of his mother's illness was the cervix, and she had been seriously ill since 1938. As early as his sophomore year in high school, Sparky had come home to a bedridden mother. Some evenings she had been too ill to put food on the table. Some nights he had been awakened by her cries of pain. But no one spoke directly about her affliction. Only Sparky's father and his mother's trusted sister Marion knew its source, and they would not identify it as cancer in Sparky's presence until after it had reached its fourth and final stage, in November 1942, the same month he was drafted. On February 28, 1943, with a day pass from Fort Snelling, Sparky returned from his army barracks to his mother's bedside. Mounting the stairs to the second-floor apartment at the corner of Selby and North Snelling Avenues, to which the Schultzes had moved so that his father, at work in his barber shop on Selby, and the druggist in his pharmacy around the corner, could race upstairs to administer morphine during the worst of Dina's agonies. That evening, before reporting back to barracks, Sparky went into his mother's bedroom. She was turned away from him in her bed against the wall, opposite the windows that overlooked the street. He said he guessed it was time to go. "Yes," she said, "I suppose we should say goodbye." She turned her gaze as best she could. "Well," she said, "goodbye, Sparky. We'll probably never see each other again." Later he said, "I'll never get over that scene as long as I live." And indeed he could not, down to his own dying day. It was certainly the worst night of his life, the night of "my greatest tragedy," which he repeatedly put into the terms of his passionate sense of unfulfillment that his mother never had the opportunity to see me get anything published. He saw her always from a distance, and as the years went by, with each stoical retelling, the moment became more and more iconic. It was safely frozen in time, as puzzling a farewell in its quiet, cool-headed resolve as the lines spoken by the mother as she prepares to lose her son in Citizen Kane. "I've got his trunk all packed. I've had it packed for a week now."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?